Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Tuesday, July 21st. I'm Sarith Hawk. California has a housing crisis. Many people struggle to find housing, while others struggle to simply afford it.
We have seniors who are trying to make it off $1,800 a month Social Security and then pay $1,500 a month for rent. You can't live like that.
But one project in Fresno hopes to change that. We go to a church in West Fresno to learn more. That story in just a moment, but first, these headlines. Residents in Kings County are pushing back on plans to build data centers in the valley. Residents say they have concerns regarding excessive water consumption and water pollution. This follows a proposal to build data centers on fairgrounds in Tulare and Kings counties. The idea is being pushed by a company called Global Stack. KVPR has reached out to fairground staff for comment but has not heard back. In the meantime, residents in Hanford plan to speak out during a city council meeting today. A state appeals court this month denied a petition to overturn a mental health diversion for a former Kern County supervisor. Zach Scrivener was granted the mental health diversion late last year. It followed a case where he was accused of sexually abusing at least one of his children, but he was never formally charged with that crime. Instead, Scrivener petitioned for a mental health diversion that would allow his criminal case to disappear from records once treatment is completed. His ex-wife blasted the decision and called for reforms to mental health diversion rules. The investigation into the source of a large-scale foodborne illness outbreak from contaminated lettuce is continuing. As Amy Mayer from our news partner KAZU in the Central Coast reports, a recent lab test that singled out a California company was wrong.
FDA lab testing initially showed positive results for cyclospora on Mexican iceberg lettuce. But on Sunday, its investigation update page said the results were a false positive. Still, Salinas-based Taylor Farms says Taylor Farms de Mexico has recalled and halted imports of iceberg lettuce grown in central Mexico. Restaurants and retailers in 27 states received the potentially bad lettuce. California is not among them.
That was Amy Mayer with our news partner KAZU. California reading scores are improving after the state has invested billions of dollars into reading and literary coach programs. A new study by the Public Policy Institute of California shows that the investments have paid off, with the state's ranking moving towards the middle of the pack after being near the bottom nationally. Experts do say a shortage of literary coaches, especially in rural areas, have slowed progress, but there are still significant gains.
Valley history is fascinating. Listen to KVPR's Central Valley Roots as we explore the stories of local people and places that make our community unique. Learn something new about our region. Listen to Central Valley Roots wherever you get your podcasts or visit kvpr.org/roots.
And now to our main story. It's no secret that California is hard to afford. When it comes to housing, no city or town is left out of the financial squeeze. But a state law passed in 2023 opened up new ways for affordable housing to become available. And recently, Fresno County broke ground on the first project of its kind. SB 4 allows using empty land on church or college properties to turn it into affordable housing. KVPR's Cresencio Delgado went to one church property in West Fresno to find out how this works.
Everything that everything that a community needs spiritually and emotionally, right? This church is here to provide.
I'm inside the sanctuary at the West Side Church of God in Southwest Fresno. It sits between a sprawling metropolis to one side and farms and scattered homes on the other. The church property is also the home base for Allison Walker's nonprofit.
I'm the president and CEO of the Southwest Fresno CDC. We're a community development corporation.
It focuses on
Southwest
fighting
Fresno.
chronic poverty and helping people find stable housing, specifically in West Fresno. This part of the city is no stranger to those problems. That's why the land that this church owns will soon offer the community something new.
And we're walking out the door now to the parking lot, and we have a dog and we have a cat on the premises.
It has a 1-acre lot in the back that is currently just dirt and weeds. The other half is a ponding basin.
And what you see here will soon be 21 units it's a small scale ADU cottage development.
It will be transformed into housing for senior citizens in Fresno County who are on fixed incomes.
You have a lot of people that are falling out of housing and into homelessness because of lack of retirement, lack of health care, insurance.
Walker says this housing problem among seniors is punctuated by the lack of investment in this part of Fresno.
The city really grew to the north and to the east, and this area was not just left behind, but a lot of people say that it was kept behind.
The church property is only able to offer this land for housing because of a state law signed by Governor Gavin Newsom in 2023. SB 4 is also called the Affordable Housing on Faith and Higher Education Lands Act. It streamlines approval of housing as long as the zone is adequate. Churches often have thousands of acres of underutilized land. Some use it to build coffee houses, sports complexes, or thrift stores. But at the Westside Church of God, a place that is already a community hub, the state found a willing partner to solve one of its biggest problems.
I believe that church is more than just to be a little social club for Christians.
Paul Binion is the pastor of the church. He's one of the longest-serving pastors in Fresno, 49 years, and the housing development will also be named after him, even though he says he doesn't need any of the credit. He taps on his Bible when we talk.
I am a believer of this Bible,
This is where he takes his cues on helping the poor, he says.
The Bible is very clear that we are to love all peoples and care for people and use the resources we have to help people.
In Fresno, many residents are living with what's known as rent burden. That's where they spend more than 30% of their income just on rent alone. Some, especially seniors, pay more than that.
We have seniors who are trying to make it off $1,800 a month Social Security and then pay $1,500 a month for rent. You can't live like that.
Back at the 1-acre lot, Walker says she hopes this solution is the start of something bigger. This is the first project of its kind in the county.
We're happy to be the first, but we don't want to be the last.
Her nonprofit is not a religious organization, and people who will soon live on the church property don't have to be members of the church. But she says that's not the point. It's about finding ways to give someone in need a place to live. For KVPR News, I'm Cresencio Rodriguez Delgado.
And Cresencio joins me now to dive a little deeper into your reporting. Hey, Cres.
Hey, Zarith.
So this is such a great story. I'm wondering, what is the timing of getting all these units completed at the Westside Church of God?
Yeah, so eventually there will be 21 units total that will be built on this 1-acre property that the Westside Church of God is not using. One piece of the land right now is just dirt and weeds, and the other half is a ponding basin, as I mentioned. Mm-hmm. The church and the Southwest Fresno Development Corporation are still working to get city approval to use the ponding basin section. So they still are waiting for that. And that means that until that process is done, there will be, for now, only 8 housing units that will be completed by early 2027. And then construction will continue on the second phase of the project once all of the permits are finalized.
I see. And once it's done and they begin actually finding the tenants, does that mean that the church is essentially going to become their landlord?
No, so not the church. Essentially, the landlord here is the Southwest Fresno Community Development Corporation. This is their project entirely. The church is simply leasing the land to the CDC. So there's this element where churches actually have to be willing to give up the land to serve this housing need. And in this case, the pastor of the church, Paul Binion, decided that he would do that. But the Southwest Fresno CDC is responsible for all of the housing and the services, and the units will even have their own private entrances and everything.
And could this turn into any potential revenue source for the church after the units are built? Something like, a win-win situation?
That's a good question. The church itself will not necessarily get any revenue here from the tenants or anything. The rents that are paid are to service the housing units. And in fact, the Southwest Fresno CDC is still looking for partners to help finance the project as a whole. I understand that for just the 8 units that will be built by early next year, it's going to cost about $2 million to build. And what I'm told is that the CDC has raised only about $1 million so far. So that gives you an idea. Eventually, they want to get to 21 units, but the CDC is asking the community to support the project in order to do that. This is the only way that the entire pilot project will really work under this law, is if people are willing to make it happen. The state made the law, the church gave the land. Now the community has an opportunity to really do its part to get this through the finish line.
Well, lack of housing and affordability is really a serious issue in California. Can you talk a little bit more about that state law, SB 4, that has allowed for this housing development on the church property? What other opportunities for housing does the law open up?
So SB 4, what it does essentially is it streamlines approval of housing projects on any land that is owned by any independent college or religious institution. And basically, the area where the project will go, it has to meet specific criteria. Such as that it cannot be next to industrial zones, because we all know that that could be dangerous for people to live next to that. It also needs to be that most, if not all of the homes need to be available for low-income households. So the rates have to be affordable. That is a requirement. And when you think about it, the criteria can apply to a lot of land in the state when you start to look at it. One study out of the Turner Center for Housing Innovation at UC Berkeley actually estimates that SB 4 can unlock roughly 170,000 acres of land that could be used for housing.
You mentioned that this is the first project of its kind in Fresno County. Are there other efforts to get more churches or schools on board with the idea?
Yeah, so Allison Walker says that she is beginning to hear about some new projects down the road here locally. None of them are as far as the one that she's working on. However, because this is the first project of its kind in the county, Walker really wants to get it built, get it running, and then show the results so that it can guide future projects. But I understand that this project has already inspired a housing summit that will take place later this year. And it will address housing, but also it will bring in various institutions so that they can see themselves as part of the solution to the housing crisis.
KVPR News Director Cresencio Rodriguez Delgado, great to chat with you here in the studio.
Of course, my pleasure.
And that's today's show. Today's episode was produced by Cresencio Rodriguez Delgado, Jonathan Linden, and KVPR. I'm Sarith Hawk. Find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
Each story you hear on Planet Money starts with a question. What happens if we refund tariffs? Why are groceries so expensive? At NPR, we stand for your right to be curious, because the forces shaping our world can be hard to see. Follow NPR's Planet Money wherever you get your podcasts and start seeing how the economy really works.